Hello, I'm Robin Bilazarian, and today we have the honor of listening to a chaplain speak about how he uses tapping to release emotional and physical stress. We do want you to know that this is a public video, it's not therapy. We hope that the information makes you feel better, helps you calm down, and even works with physical pain sometimes. By continuing to watch this, you're agreeing that this is a virtual presentation and you're assuming all risks. If anything is overwhelming, please contact a mental health professional, your medical doctor, or go to your local emergency room for assistance. Hello, I'm Robin Bilazarian. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been using EFT for 24 years in all aspects of mental health practices, including two community mental health center and also a level 1 trauma unit working with staff. This is my colleague.
Hi, I'm Chaplain Kelvin.Foster. I'm a health and public safety chaplain. I've been using EFT for the last 3 years, both with first responders and also with disaster responders as well. My background is I'm a former firefighter EMT. I'm also a Navy veteran and a retiree from the Department of Veteran Affairs. And incidentally, I've also had the opportunity of using EFT with veterans at a local VA medical center in my area.
Okay. So the reason that I really love the emotional freedom technique is I don't know anything that's faster and more thorough to calm down physical and emotional stress. So what happens is this, we use these light touch acupressure points. And what happens is you and I will yawn and sigh. And that's a sign that we're kicking ourselves out of the sympathetic nervous system of fight, flight, freeze, and foggy brain into the parasympathetic nervous system of rest and digest. We add some words there, and that desensitizes it very quickly. How about you, Kelvin? What is your feeling about EFT?
Well, one of the things that I find to be most helpful is that this is a real quick self-care tool that can help someone who maybe due to the stresses of life or situations that just occurred, get back into their stress window of tolerance. So if you can imagine a space between my hands, that's where our normal stress window of tolerance is. But if you have a critical incident or a situation that occurred unexpectedly, it could easily get you outside of that normal stress operating window. So tapping is a way to be able to calm you down. It calms the amygdala, brings the prefrontal cortex back online, and it's just a real good tool for helping people dealing with difficult situations.
Okay. So where do you use it, Kelvin?
When you say, where do I use it?
Or with who do you use it?
Sorry. So I'll give you an example. The last time I had an opportunity to use it, I was in Alabama, and I was responding to tornado disaster. And I had a young lady who was working in one of the shelters that I was serving in, who expressed to me that she was dealing with a great deal of anxiety because of some situations that occurred prior to my arrival. And I asked her on a scale of 0 to 10, what number was she given? And she said it was a 9. Well, I said, I have this real simple stress regulation tool that I'd like to share with you if you think it would be helpful for it. So we went through the process of me introducing it to her. She went from a 9 to a 4 to a 0. And then I went on about my business. So in that little small window of about 10 minutes, she was dealing with anxiety at a level of a 9, and it went down to a 0 in less than 10 minutes. And that's been my experience across the board, whether it's working with first responders, disaster clients, or even sometimes with folks in the hospital environment that I find myself working in.
Mm-hmm. That's my experience too. I call myself a brief therapy expert, and I'm not the expert. The technique is the expert. Okay, the EFT is the expert. So shall we show them how it's done?
Sure.
Okay.
In addition to working in those type of environments, I also work in the public school system. And for the last 3 years, I've had a chance to work with at-risk students. So typically the kid is brought to the office space that I have, and we'll go through a few rounds of, getting to know each other and me finding out what's going on with them. And oftentimes they've had a bad day when they come to see me. And so when I understand what's going on, maybe they might have had somebody bullying them or picking on them, and I go through the questions, open-ended questions of saying, so tell me right now, what emotion are you feeling and where are you feeling in your body? So let's just say I'm just mad. That's the response of a typical middle schooler. And I say, well, where do you feel that madness or that anger in your body? And they might say, I feel it in my head. My head's just throbbing right now and I want to punch someone. So then I talk them through the rounds. Most of the kids that I work with, we've gone through this tapping tool on a number of occasions. So we start by tapping on the side of the hand. So Robin, let's just say you're the student and that anger that you're experiencing right now is about a 7 and you feel it in your forehead. So I want you to tap with me and I want you to repeat what I say. Even though I feel this anger.
Even though I feel this anger.
I feel it in my head.
I feel it in my head.
Deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Love and appreciate myself.
Love and appreciate myself.
I have all this anger in my head.
I have all this anger in my head.
And I'm really mad.
And I'm really mad.
But I deeply and completely.
But I deeply and completely.
Love and appreciate myself.
Love and appreciate myself.
I have this anger in my head.
I have this anger in my head.
It's about a 7.
It's about a 7.
I deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Love and appreciate myself.
Love and appreciate myself.
Top of the head. This anger in my head.
This anger in my head.
About a 7.
It's about a 7.
This anger.
This anger.
It's about a 7.
About a 7.
Side of the eye. I still have this anger.
I still have this anger.
And it's about a 7.
And it's about a 7.
Deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Below the eye, this anger is about a 7.
This anger is about a 7.
And I feel it in my head.
And I feel it in my head.
This anger in my head.
This anger in my head.
About a 7.
It's about a 7.
Collarbone, I still have this anger.
I still have this anger.
And it's about a 7.
And it's about a 7.
Below the arms, this anger in my head is about a 7.
This anger in my head is about a 7.
This anger in my head is about a 7.
This anger in my head is about a 7.
So Robin, can you take a deep breath for me, please? Can you give me a number from 0 to 10?
It's surprisingly less. It's kind of a weird technique, but it's surprisingly less. It's maybe a 2.
Maybe about a 2? Okay, and usually I would just inquire if that's okay, or do we need to get, a little bit better? 2 is a good place to start, and usually we'll try to ask some open-ended questions, see if there's anything else that's going on, and that's kind of how I process that, or process that through that process.
And if you're watching this at home and you're not a 2 on whatever issue you selected, just rewind this and watch Kelvin do it again, because my experience is sometimes we have to go through it 3 rounds, 6 rounds, 9 rounds. I do it sort of the series of 3s, and that seems to take it down.
Yeah, and I would also say too, this is something that you can do yourself, but it's really a lot more effective when you have someone who's a licensed clinician or certified clinician who's working with you, because there's something about 2 people and that interpersonal interaction that takes place that makes this a whole lot more effective.
Yeah, I agree. When I have the luxury, it's wonderful to have somebody else do it with me. But there are times that simple stress management, I'm angry, as angry as a bear, and I'm going to get myself into trouble. Angry as a bear, and I'm going to get myself into trouble. Angry as a bear, and I'm going to get myself into trouble. Angry as a bear, and I'm going to get myself into trouble. There's something about being able to do it for myself too. Sort of in stress management, to just contain myself and to take myself down. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the things that I find fascinating is that this is a technique that was developed in a lot of Oriental cultures, hitting the acupressure point. And I think recently scientists discovered that there's something called the premovascular system, which is what the acupressure points are basically aligned with. So you're actually moving energy throughout your body in a way that helps to mitigate the emotional charge that's usually associated with these feelings that we're processing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's 2 studies that showed that it reduced cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. One study showed that it reduced it 24%, and the other one showed that it reduced it 43%. And that's also very cool. So Kelvin, before we wrap up, I just would like to take people through sort of a positive round. Again, I'm going to tell you to rewind what Kelvin did until you are calm. Get yourself down to a 2 or below. And then you may want to wrap it up with this. Certainly, if you have someone that you can talk to, you don't need to do a personal round, a positive round. But if you happen to be alone, you may just want to do this. So Kelvin, will you echo me? Which means you'll do it after me, okay? So here. So even though I'm mad as a bear,
Even though I'm mad as a bear,
I love and accept myself,
I love and accept myself.
and I know it's just an emotion.
And I know it's just an emotion.
I choose to release this anger.
I choose to release this anger.
It's in my interest to release this anger.
It's in my interest to release this anger.
This anger will just get me into trouble.
This anger will just get me into trouble.
It doesn't serve me.
It doesn't serve me.
And I forgive myself for getting angry.
And I forgive myself for getting angry.
Because I'm just a human being and sometimes I can't help myself.
Because I'm just a human being and sometimes I can't help myself.
I choose to release it all.
I choose to release it all.
I choose to let it go.
I choose to let it go.
And I choose to use this technique so that I can release it.
So that I can release it.
Okay. Anything you want to add at this point?
I would also say, because I spend a lot of time with the youth, the research about adverse childhood experiences, this has been a wonderful tool to help some of the kids who are dealing with the trauma and the toxic stress of that. And so I just would encourage you to learn more about that. And this is a great tool to add to your toolkit.
Okay, so just a reminder, the technique is called the emotional freedom technique. Sometimes it's called tapping, and you can find a lot of YouTubes, including this one here, on tapping or the emotional freedom technique. Kelvin, thank you for your time. You are a gift to the people you serve.
Thank you, and you all have a wonderful day.